Hi, I'm glad to see everybody. Let me introduce myself. My name is Victoria Nikolaevna Golobacheva, and I'm a professor, Department of Information and Computing Systems, Karaganda Technical University. Course Java Software Application Development for students enrolled in the educational program Information Systems. Today we have lecture number 4. Topic: Arrays in Java. Please look on the next slide, slide number 2. It presents the plan of this lecture. We have 2 questions. The first question is one-dimensional arrays. Declaration, definition, initialization, and examples of use. The second question is two-dimensional arrays. Declaration, definition, initialization, and examples of use. The purpose of this lecture is to get acquainted with arrays of the Java language. So guys, please look on the next slide, slide number 4. It presents the following information. Array. What does it mean? Definition. Array is a powerful tool for dealing with large amounts of data. Obviously, if you need to save, for example, 100 values somewhere in the process of your code, then it's at least unreasonable to make the same number of variables for this. An array allows you to store a large number of values under one name and access them at the appropriate index. Arrays are the cornerstone of learning Java for beginners. After all, they are the basis for many data structures. Since Java is primarily object-oriented programming, OOP, it is an abbreviation, compared to arrays in other programming languages. Java array has one distinctive feature. They are represented as objects. Among other benefits, these eliminates the need to keep track of memory cleanup, since it's freed up mathematically. Please, guys, look on the next slide. Slide number 7. It presents the following information. You can see peculiarities of Java language. First of all elements are of the same type. Next, the whole array has one name. All elements are located in memory, one after another. For example, list of students in the class. It's an array. Next example, schools in the city. Next example, annual air temperature data. And many others. Please, guys, look on the next slide, slide number 8. It presents the following information. Following are some important points about Java arrays. In Java, all arrays are dynamically allocated. Next important point about Java array. Since arrays are objects in Java, we can find their length using the object property length. Next important point about Java array. In a Java array, variable can also be declared like other variable with square brackets after the date type. The variables in the array are ordered and each have an index beginning from 0. Okay, next important point about Java arrays. Java array can also be used as a static field, a local variable, or a method parameter. Next important point about Java array. The size of an array must be specified by an int or short value and not long. And the last important point about Java array is the direct superclass of an array type is object. Please, guys, look on the next slide, slide number 9. You can see definition of an array. So, an array is a group of like-typed variables that are referred to by a common name. In this picture, you can see one-dimensional array. It consists of 10 elements. Array length is 10, and each element has its own index. The first index is always 0. The second index is 1. The third index is 2. The fourth index is 3. The fourth index is 5. Is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And element, for example, at index 8, you can see it in this picture. Okay. Please, guys, look on the next slide. It presents the following information. Arrays in Java are a way to store collections of items into a single unit. The array has some number of slots, each of which holds an individual item. Arrays in Java are actual objects that can be passed around and treated just like other objects. Please, you should remember this information about arrays in Java. Next slide, guys. How to create an array in Java, for example, an integer array. In the middle of this picture, you can see one-dimensional array. It has fixed length. Fixed length equals 5. Each element has its own index. The first index is 0, the second index is 1, the third index is 2, the fourth index is 3, and the fifth index is 4. The first element of this array is 0. The second element of this one-dimensional array is 2. The third element of this one-dimensional array is 4. The fourth element of this one-dimensional array is 6. And the last element of this one-dimensional array is 8. Okay. Next slide, guys. You can see one-dimensional array in general. It has length, it equals 10. Array name, of course, first index is always 0, then 1, 2, 3, and so on. Last index and minus 1. Okay, next picture, guys. What can you see in this picture? You can see one-dimensional array, its values, elements, and indexes. Okay. Indexes. The first index is always the row, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 10 elements. It's simple. Okay. Next slide, guys. How to store float values in Java array. In this picture, we have one-dimensional array type float values. Yes, first index is always 0 and last index 10 minus 1. It will be 9 because array length is 10. For example, element at index 2, 11.3 float. An array of 10 elements. Okay. An element at index 8 equals 13.3 float. Arrays in the Java language are reference types, and their description is typical for reference types. The description is made in three stages. The first stage is declaration. At this stage, only a variable of type reference to the array is defined, containing the type of the array. For this, the name of the type of the array elements is written. Square brackets indicate that a reference to an array is declared, and not a simple variable, and the names of variables of the reference type are listed. You can also put square brackets directly after the name. It's convenient to do this among the definitions of ordinary variables. Okay. The second step is installation. At this stage, the number of elements of the array is indicated, called its length. Space is allocated for the array in RAM. RAM, it is an abbreviation, a random access memory. The reference variable receives the address of the array. All these actions are performed by another operation of the Java language, the new type operation, which allocates a section in RAM for an object of the type specified in the operation and return the address of this section as a result. Array element indices always start with 0. You already know about it. Indices can be specified by any integer expression except for the long type. The Java runtime system makes sure that the values of these expressions do not exceed the bounds of the array length. Okay. Next slide, guys. It presents the following information. The first two steps can be combined. You can immediately set the initial values by reading them in curly braces, separated by commas in the form of constants or constant expressions. In this case, it's not even necessary to indicate the number of array elements. It will be equal to the number of initial values. You can even create an unnamed array by immediately using the result of the new operation. The reference to the array is not part of the described array. It can be transferred to another array of the same type using an assignment operation. For example, after assignment A equals B, both references A and B point to the same array of 100 real variables of type double and contain the same address. The link can be assigned an empty value null, which doesn't point to any memory address. In addition to a simple assignment operation with references, you can only make comparisons for equality. For example, A equals B, and in inequality, A explanation sign equals B. Exclamation sign equals B. In this case, the addresses contained in the links are compared. We can find out if they refer to the same array. Arrays in Java are always defined dynamically. Also, they are referenced statistically. In addition to reference to an array in integer constant, named length is automatically defined for each array. It's equal to the length of the array. For each array, the name of this constant is specified with the name of the array separated by a dot. The elements of an array are ordinary variables of their own type. With them, you can perform all the operations allowed for this type. A character array in Java is not a string, even if it ends with a null character. Single quotes \u o null character. Okay, next slide, guys. It presents the following information. Instantiation in array in Java. When an array is described, only a reference of array is created. To actually create or give memory to array, you create an array like this. The general form of new as it applies to one-dimensional arrays appears as follows. Var name equals new type and size. You can see size in square bracket. Here, type specifies the type of data being allocated. Size specifies the number of elements in the array. And var name is the name of array variable that is linked to the array. That is, to use new to allocate an array, you must specify the type and number of elements to allocate. Okay. You can see array name equals new type and number of elements in square brackets. For the declared array name, we reserve memory using the new keyword. New keyword, please remember it. Thus, you can declare an array of any type: integer, long, double, boolean, char, and string. For example, my first array equals new int 15 in square brackets. Int n equals 5. An array of double equals new double and in bracket square, in the square bracket. You can also declare an array name and reserve memory for it on the same line. In the same line. Next example. First of all, declare an array. And next, allocating memory to array. Or combining both statements in one. Next slide, guys. Array description. Please look in this slide carefully. You can see the first stage, declaration. Links to arrays of doubles type are created. The first stage. The second stage is installation. We use keyword new. And the third stage is initialization. Okay. The way to declare a one-dimensional array is shown in the figure below. Please look in this programming code which is located on the left. First, the Java array type is declared, which defines the type of values stored in it. It can be any Java data type, any. This is followed by the name of the array in square brackets to tell the compiler that the variable is an array. Pay attention to an important fact. Square brackets can be placed either after the base array type or after the array name. After the equal sign, the operator new is indicated, which initiates the allocation of memory for the array, just as in the case of objects. The type of elements that will be stored in it must be compatible with the base type declared earlier. And finally, the number indicated in square brackets. Okay. The numbering of elements in the Java array starts from 0. So the index of the first element in this array will be equal to 0 and the 6 minus 5. To refer to the specific elements of the array, for example, the fifth, it's enough to specify the name of the array and the index of the element in square brackets next to the name. This way, you can either assign a value to an element or retrieve it. However, you should be careful because if you pass an index at which the element doesn't exist, then an error will occur. Okay, next slide, you can see creating arrays in Java. First of all, declare a variable to hold the array. Okay, next, create a new array object and assign it to the array variable. And the third is store things in that array. Okay, guys, next question. Two-dimensional arrays in Java. Multi-dimensional arrays. Arrays in Java can have more than one dimension. We are all familiar with an asterisk and asterisk sign and matrices. Multidimensional arrays are series of one-dimensional, which are referenced by the elements of other arrays. In other words, they are arrays of arrays. The simplest among them are two-dimensional. Using their example, we'll try to understand the concept. Multidimensional arrays are arrays of arrays with each element of the array holding the reference of other array. These are also known as judged arrays. A multidimensional array is created by appending one set of square brackets per dimension. Please, guys, look on the next slide. You can see a picture. Let's take a look at this structure. In these first brackets, we have allocated space for 5 elements. These elements are nothing more than references to individual arrays. Moreover, the size of each of them is determined by the number in the second bracket. In fact, matrices are an analog of two-dimensional arrays in mathematics. Please note that in addition to the elements, a separate place is allocated in memory where the value of the length of the array is stored. As a rule, work with multidimensional arrays is carried out through nested for loops. Okay, guys, please look on the next slide. It presents a Java program to loop over two-dimensional array in Java. You can see columns and rows. We have 9 elements of this array. Okay, understand? Next slide. This picture shows how a multidimensional array looks like. In general, we have rows and columns, array number 1, number 2, array number 3. Multidimensional array memory. You can see heap, array of references, their values, and stack multidimensional array reference. It's simple. Two-dimensional array in Java. Size 3 asterisk 4. Next slide. This picture presents 3-dimensional arrays. In general, guys, it looks like a Rubik's Cube. Two-dimensional arrays in Java. Array access. Please look at this array on the right. Use G element to access element in row Y and columns G. zero-based indexes, row and column. Indices start at 0. Okay, next slide. Irregular arrays. Regular arrays. A two-dimensional array is an array of arrays. We have already found this out. But can the arrays it contains have different lengths? The answer is yes, they can. To do this, Java provides the ability to declare a two-dimensional array in a special way. For example, we want to create a two-dimensional array that would hold three one-dimensional arrays of length 2, 3, and 4, respectively. It declares as here. Some of the most useful Java array methods are copy of array length, or copy of range information in the brackets, array, first index, last index. Next, sort array. Sort the elements of the array in ascending order. Next, fill array value, binary search. Array processing. Java program for sorting an array in integers in ascending order. You can see the programming code on the left. Sample Java program for sorting an array of integers using arrays.sort. Sorted to by default in ascending order. Output, we can have modified array. We can also sort in descending order. Okay, and we have output, modified array. The programming code is located on the left. Next example, derivation of the Pythagorean multiplication table. This programming code shows derivation of the Pythagorean multiplication table. Can you remember multiplication table from school, course of math? I think that yes, you remember. And now I recommend you to watch IT project lessons number 9 and lesson number 10, working with one-dimensional arrays and multi-dimensional arrays. It will be very useful for you. Have you any questions, guys? Okay, and now we have control questions. We have 7 control questions. You should answer them using resources. You already know about these resources. Thank you very much for your attention.